This conference will now be recorded.
In this section, we are going to discuss about logging on ASM. So when it comes to logging, there are two separate logging mechanisms which are available on ASM. One is your syslog ng, and then you have ASM logging profiles. So ASM logs all system and administrative events to syslog, which goes again locally inside your var log ASM. So this var log ASM file will have all your syslog configuration, database events, any violations, if the ASM daemon BD restarts or it crashes, all those information will be stored in this var log ASM. And then you have another log file which is ts dash log dash bd.log. This is internal BD log file, which is specifically useful when you are troubleshooting issues related to memory and specifically when you have enabled a debug option. And then you have ts log policy underscore builder pb dash asterisk. This is the policy builder logs showing when and how many processes were running. And then with respect to this log itself, there are various archives which get created like var log asm.1.gz through var log asm.8.jz. This is the oldest file. This is the newest file is this one. After the it starts writing all the old entries to 1 to 8 file. So by default, the ASM system logs both the operating system information and application information in a set of files containing, the current data and the data from previous 8 days in across these files. So ASM logs all message formats are which are related to administrative events in this specific file. So anything which you are trying to investigate related to administrative tasks, you have to see or concentrate on this specific file. Now, when you're working with ASM, you also need to understand that ASM does not log security events to your syslog. So when you say security events, we can say like if a illegal file type is detected, which should have been blocked or is blocked. So when I say these events does not get logged to syslog, which means that you cannot find any uh, information related to this specific event in varlog ASM file. So instead, you have to use the remote logging server, which is the recommended manner. So usually any ASM security event which happens, the log which is created corresponding to that will have a specific description like the rejection description, why the request is blocked, the request violation which has been triggered. Then with respect to each request, you would have a support ID as well, from which source the request came in, what source port was used, what is the destination IP that was used, what is the destination port which was used, what is actually the exact request which has been initiated, what is the username, what is the session ID, what is the violation rating. So now, if there is a for troubleshooting purposes, if you want that ASM logs these events locally on the appliance itself, then we have a internal parameter which needs to be modified. So ideally in a production environment, it is not recommended. But again, if you are trying to troubleshoot some specific issues, you can do that based on confirmation from F5 support. So the internal parameter that we are talking about here is called as send underscore content underscore events. This enables the security events to go inside var log ASM. So you basically have to in order to change the value of this specific internal parameter, you have to navigate to like security, go to options, you go to application security, then advanced configuration, and there you will get value for system variables. So this is where you enable this feature so that ASM will try to log everything related to the security events locally. Now you can view the logs in the configuration utility as well. The content of var log ASM, you can go to system logs and application security to view logs related to ASM. So in
Okay,
order to,
Vinit,
yeah,
for the end content in events, can
hmm.
we do some filtering on that as well, related to specific user or particular IP address? Like
No, this will
this will
log everything
minimize.
locally.
Okay,
This will log everything locally. So again, then you have to do the filtering in the log file. So with respect to log file, you have to see the contents related to specific user ID. Maybe you can use a grep command to find out
hmm,
the events which are happening corresponding to a specific user.
okay, got it. I was thinking just like we do debug, okay,
Hmm.
we specify an access list and then we do the whole debug because it maybe it will cause like high CPU processing. So
It could be depending on how much is the traffic incoming and how much is the current load on your device. Yes, it can.
okay,
So that's why it is not recommended to log all the security events locally. So if in
okay,
case only you're doing any explicit troubleshooting, that is where this comes into picture.
okay.
Then if you want to view the logs from the graphical user interface itself, then you go to system logs and application security. You also have option to view it from the command line again you can use different set of commands, like you can use cat command, you can use grep command to filter for specific entities, you can use more command, or you can also use tail command to look at the end of the file, any entries which keep on getting added. So for example, you can just use tail space minus f var log asm. So this will keep on looking for the end of the file. And if you want to view archived log files, you can make use of zcat, like let's say zcat asm.1.jz, and then maybe do a more to view it page by page. This way you can view the logs on your appliance. Now, with respect to the logs, the requests that you see in your event logs, you can export that as well in HTML format. So, like if I go on my appliance, I go to System, Event Logs, Application, and Request. System, Event Logs, Application, Request. So in here I will find the details. In the left screen I'll find the details of various requests which are being received on my appliance. So once I select one of these requests, in here I get an option to either delete the request or export this request. So if you want to export this request, you just click on export. So this was all about reporting which is available with respect to syslog, or how we view it from command line and graphical user interface. The second option which we have with respect to logging is the logging profiles. So these logging profiles are basically used to filter the traffic. What kind of traffic do you need? And with that filtering, with this log profile, you can define that, okay, logs which are related to application security, I want this to be sent or stored locally, or I want this to be stored to a remote log server. So you can create your own logging profiles and get that associated with your virtual server that we create. So which we have been always seeing that there is a profile which is attached to my virtual server, which is log all requests. So like this, you can create your own customized logging profiles and get those logging profiles mapped to your virtual server. Now, we also know that by default, ASM does not log the response. It only logs the request. So even when you on the application request page, if you see the any specific events, you would see that the you would see three options. One is your decoded request, one is your original request, and the other is your response section. So in a generic scenario, if you click on this response section, it will say that response logging is disabled. So that is the scenario which is by default. So with respect to request, there are two options for the request types. Like you can do illegal requests only, or all requests. When you are creating a specific response logging profile, these are the two options which are available: illegal request only, or for all requests you want the response to be logged. And within this profile itself, when you have option to define whether the data will get stored locally or remotely. So when you are considering a remote storage, you can choose what format the ASM will use to log remotely. So it can be like CSV format, comma separated values format, which stores all your traffic data on the remote logging server using this format. Or it is a key value pair, so which stores all traffic on the remote server using a pre-configured storage format where the key and the value pair are used in the log messages. Or you also have option for ArcSight, which is common event format, which stores the traffic on remote logging server using predefined ArcSight settings. So if you're using ArcSight as a remote log server, then you can choose this option. And with respect to storage, you have option to filter what kind of request have to be stored. So ASM categorizes them into three types. One is all requests. Second is illegal requests. And third is illegal requests and requests that include staged attack signatures. So usually in a production environment, you would not want to use this because this would result into high volume of data, which again can increase the CPU utilization or resource utilization on your box. Okay, so with this we complete the logging section on ASM. We'll wind up this session for now. In the next section, we'll do some lab with respect to remote logging.